Thank you, sir, for those deep insights for setting the stage with Ministry's unwavering commitment to this area. Sir, as you mentioned that thematic committee has put a lot of efforts to shape this session under the able guiding hand of Chairman of the thematic committee, Professor R.R. Sonde. Professor R.R. Sonde is not only an academician of repute, but one of the pioneers in blending energy security with ecological preservation. Professor Sonde is Senior Professor Emeritus at BITS Pilani, Goa campus and visiting professor at several IITs including Roorkee, Jodhpur, Jammu, Gandhinagar and IIT Delhi. A fellow of the Indian National Academy of Engineering, Professor Sonde embodies the perfect blend of academic excellence and corporate leadership, having served as senior executive at Thermax and NTPC. He currently chairs the Hydrogen Valley Innovation Center at IIT Jodhpur, leads national initiatives on carbon capture, utilization and storage, and advises NITI Aayog and MNRE on hydrogen and methanol economy strategies. His pioneer work spans across sectors like steel, cement, and aluminum, guiding their pathways toward decarbonization and net zero. Professor Sonde has inspired generation through his research, leadership, and vision for an energy secure and sustainable India. Now, for the core of our session's vision, I invite the chairman of thematic committee, Professor Sonde, to deliver his address, sharing his experience, highlighting the vision, objective, and outlining the flow of today's knowledge-rich session.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to all of you. Good morning. May I add my words of welcome to all of you. This whole hall is very imposing actually, and my back-end team, there is a big team along with Saurav, there's Shaktivel, and everybody was very nervous, says how it is going to happen with so many luminaries and so much of audience. I said, don't worry, we will get back to what is given to us, which is essentially the topic of energy, environment, and climate. So actually it is a vast subject of three put in one and to be done in 2 hours time. So there is a challenge here. There is a challenge to kind of communicate what we started. I think, Saurav, was it in the month of August that we started this committee? Thanks to DST, actually they said that, and DAE was supposed to be the nodal agency, and when that whole mantle was given to me, I was clueless how we can integrate these diverse topics in this kind of a field of energy environment and get the best of the brains to talk about it, to communicate, because I had to really talk to my gurus. Dr. Kakodkar, I mean, because these are the people who have dedicated themselves for the cause of energy and larger cause of the nation. Here is one more guru sitting here, Saraswat, Dr. Saraswat, whom I used to have such intense discussions, and we never would agree on the same thing. That's the beauty of science. Science is disagreement, discourse, debate, discussions, and then coming to what is good for the country. And I'm sure that this particular 2-hour session may not be able to solve everything. As I was talking to our moderator, Mr. Pathak from NPCIL, that let us create that debate in us. Today, just a starting point, and as Secretary DST mentioned, that this is going to be repeated every year, and we need to build. Because please understand this, that India is going to be a $35 trillion economy, that India would need energy 4 times than what we have got now, which is about 8,500 terawatt hours, are going to touch about 28,000 terawatt hours, or about 3,000 million tons of oil equivalent, that the CO2 emissions, which is currently at about 2,900 as per our BUR, has to be brought down to 1,200, half, by 2047 our Vikasit Bharat, so that it becomes zero by 2070, are hugely challenging. No, I underline this, no developing nation or no developed nation had to face the challenge that India is going to face. And therefore, to find a synergistic solution is not going to be easy, not going to be easy, unless all of us will put our brains together. Very often what happens is that we, coming from a particular branch, want to say that my thing will solve the problem. I always say, and Dr. Kakorkar always tells me that we need to have an inclusive solution. Only then India can reach this mighty number. And my dear friends and the eminent people in this audience, we have written a vision document. Enormous efforts have gone in. I would request you, there's a video, there's a summary, there's a detailed vision document, and we are going to take your feedback of this August gathering, the panel, and we are going to brief what India should do in this field of energy, environment, and climate change. Climate is very important. We are in a transition phase. Transition phase in the entire Homo sapiens has been a challenge to adopt to the new norms, which is not comfortable to us, requires a public involvement, public advocacy, and not only science and technology. And therefore, when we say that we have got 5 elements: renewable energy, solar, wind, and maybe geothermal; coal in a new avatar, which is coal with gasification and CCUS; biomass, of course, is another important resource; and of course, the nuclear energy, and of course the hydro, because in fact once I was discussing with the parliamentarians, they say hydro is also one of the, and I agree that it may take a very long gestation period, but hydro is also an important resource. So 5 resources plus 1, which is very important, is the circular economy. I think our academicians should begin seriously about this particular thing. So in the end, what I would like to say is that the solution is in science. We are all worshippers of science, agnostic of anything. Science is important, but the challenge that India faces, how do you bring speed, how do you bring scale, and how do you bring sustainability? And that 3 S's need to be added to this science to make India the Vikasit Bharat, and that requires a very, very deep science. I always call this as all of us are making a technological debt if we don't depend on Indian academia and research institution. Importing technologies is not the solution for this country. Our Honorable Prime Minister repeatedly talks about Atmanirbhar, self-reliance. We did it in atomic energy. I'm sure that Dr. Mohanty will talk about it, that we created. Space and defense has shown what India could do. Why can't we mimic those models? Yes, commerciality is important. How do you bring those commercial things is a very important, and therefore I feel that along with industry, along with academia, and the industry, we need a hugely vibrant startup, deep tech incubation system. So with these words, I wish you all the best. Have a nice time. I think a lot of things will happen on the sidelines of this particular conference. I'm available for any feedback from you, so that tomorrow when I'm briefing the Honorable Minister, I would be wise enough to get your feedback. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful and thought-provoking address. Your words truly underscore the urgency of collective and collaborative action in this critical sphere. To further reflect on our shared commitment, we now present a short thematic video prepared by the committee. The video highlights the significant initiative undertaken, our aspirations for a sustainable future, the challenges that lie ahead, and the strategic roadmap envisioned to address them. May I have the video, please?
India, the world's 4th largest economy, is on a remarkable journey. By 2030, we will be a $7.3 trillion economy. By 2047, our goal is $30 trillion, raising per capita income to nearly $20,000 and achieving a Human Development Index of 0.9. This incredible growth demands huge energy, rising from 10,500 terawatt hours today to nearly 28,000 by 2047. At the same time, we have pledged to halve our CO2 emissions. This is India's unique challenge and its greatest opportunity. Under the visionary leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, India is proving that economic growth and environmental stewardship can go hand in hand. India has contributed little to global warming historically, yet we have taken a leading role in combating climate change. Guided by the principles of equity and common but differentiated responsibilities, India is committed to being part of the solution. With 75% of emissions linked to energy, the clean future begins with how we power our nation. Already, our forest cover has grown to over 25%, absorbing 22% of our annual emissions. Proof that India can grow its economy and its green cover together. Our roadmap is built on 5 sovereign pillars. First, the power of the sun and wind, delivering over 10,500 terawatt hours by 2047. Second, biomass, contributing 3,000 terawatt hours. Third, run-of-river hydropower with 2,000 terawatt hours. Fourth, coal, generating 10,000 terawatt hours, but with carbon capture, utilization and storage, transforming it into a zero-emission bridge fuel. And fifth, nuclear power, scaling to 100 gigawatts, more than 10 times today, using rapid deployment of large indigenous reactors, small modular reactors, and thorium-based advanced reactors under nuclear energy mission. Our vision extends beyond power plants. The Green Hydrogen Mission is creating a full-scale hydrogen ecosystem for industry and transport. E-mobility is reshaping our roads, reducing dependence on imported fuels. Agriculture too is transforming, with solar-powered irrigation under PMKUSUM Yojana and biomass-based rural energy. The challenge is immense, but so is the opportunity. India is investing in technological sovereignty because the future cannot be built on legacy systems. Need of the hour is quadruple helix model, connecting academia, research, industry, and startups to drive deep tech innovation. By 2047, India will be a developed nation powered by clean energy, driven by innovation, and committed to climate responsibility. This is our promise to our citizens, to our planet, and to future generations. Together, let us build a Viksit Bharat that proves economic growth and environmental balance can thrive together, driving a sustainable future through clean energy and climate innovation. Igniting the spirit of innovation, ESTIC 2025. Imagine, innovate, inspire for Viksit Bharat 2047.
Thank you. The video offers a powerful visual portrayal of the work already underway and the continued efforts required to realize our collective goals. It is now time for us to hear from our keynote speaker. I now have the distinct honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Dr. V.K. Saraswat. Sir, allow me to share a brief account of your illustrious journey and notable achievements. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I have the slides, please?
Good morning, namaskar. Distinguished panelists on the dais, all the distinguished scientists of this country, various industry partners, academicians, maybe there are lots of students also, and the ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure to be part of this discourse today on energy, climate, and environment. Much has been said, right from Dr. Mohanty to Dr. Sonde. I don't know whether I have anything new to add, but I'll make an attempt to give you some new perspectives as far as energy, climate and environment are concerned. All of us know that energy, climate, environment and economy are all integral part of the entire development scenario. Energy drives industrialization, mobility and digitalization. Climate, of course, determines the stability of the agriculture, water systems and the infrastructure, and environment underpins the human health and biodiversity, ensuring long-term productivity. The transition to clean energy, which was very nicely shown in this particular video which we saw, and environmental restoration should become the core paradigm of the development planning. It cannot be an afterthought. It has to be an integral part of our development journey. In the context of India, as has been said, the development exercise is on. We have goals that we will become a self-reliant, developed nation by 2047. And the journey to that is through 2030, where our economy will be 7.3 trillion trillion GDP dollars. Real GDP is likely to grow by 7.8% in quarter of 25-26 and 6.5% in quarter of 24-25, which was the number. But the growth has been actually accompanied by a surge of energy demand and environmental stress, which is visible today. Energy demand, our primary energy consumption approximately 39 exajoules in 2024, accounting for nearly 6.6% of the global consumption. Our coal dependence, around 72% of the electricity generation of coal, making India the third largest carbon emitter, as we call it. India's other development, if you look at it, environmental degradation. Air pollution, we always talk of air pollution in Delhi, which accounts almost, in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, 2 million deaths annually, and over 30% of India's land faces degradation. In terms of climate vulnerability, India ranks 6th among the countries most affected by extreme weather conditions. Global Climate Risk Index 2025, this is the indicator. Of course, economic growth, energy consumption, emissions and climate change are all interlinked. And we have to look at decoupling growth from emissions and ecological degradation, which is pivotal. Sector-wise emissions, all of us know, Dr. Sonde mentioned, Dr. Mohanty mentioned. I think both globally as well as in terms of India, the global scenario, the power emissions are 29%, India is about 42%. Next comes industry, and then comes transportation. Rest all are small. Obviously, we are talking of energy today, we are talking of power generation, so that becomes our major focus. These are the greenhouse gas emissions what we are talking about. Now let's look at the impact of these two indicators which have been identified by all climatologists for the planet Earth's safety, that we should not have temperature rise beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius. And also there are thoughts that we can even afford 2 degrees Celsius. So I just want to give you a comparison as to what are these extreme conditions. If you see, there are two colors here. The blue color indicates what will happen if we follow 1.5 degrees Celsius, and the red color shows what will happen when it is 2 degrees Celsius. Extreme weather, 100% increase in the flood risk with 1.5, but if it is 2 degrees, it is 170%. People, 9% of the world population will be exposed to the extreme heat waves at least once in every 20 years. And this number goes to 28%. Oceans, lower risk to marine biodiversity ecosystems and their ecological functions and services at 1.5 degrees centigrade compared to 2 degrees. In terms of species, there is a 6% of insects, 8% of plants, and 4% of vertebrates will be affected. This number goes to 18%, 16%, and 8% in the case of 2 degrees. In terms of cost, lower economic growth at 2 degrees Celsius compared to 1.5 degrees Celsius. In terms of food, every 0.5 degrees centigrade warming will consistently lead to lower yields and lower nutritional content. Water availability, 350 million urban residents exposed to severe droughts by 2100 and 410 in the case of 2 degrees Celsius. Arctic sea ice, ice-free summers in the Arctic at least once in every 100 years. But if it is 2 degrees, this will happen in once in 10 years. Coral bleaching, 70% of the world's coral reefs are lost by 2050, and in the case of 2 degrees, practically all coral reefs will vanish. Sea level rise 10 centimeter higher at 2 degrees centigrade compared to 1.5 degrees centigrade. Now, let us look at the global climate impacts. Rising global temperature, what it is doing. What is happening? Global average temperature exceeded 1.5 degrees centigrade in 2024 itself. Also, 44% of the world was affected by strong heat stress, recording temperatures 5% more than the average annual peak. Between 2000 to 2019, approximately 4.89 lakh heat-related deaths occurred as per the WHO. Wildfires to the extent of 15 million plus hectares burnt in Canada. And Swiss Alps lost 10% of the ice volume in 22-23. Sea level rise. Global sea level has been rising at the rate of 4.7 millimeters per year, a 43% increase compared to the earlier periods. Under high emission scenario, it is protected something like 1.3 to 1.6 by 2100. High tide flooding increased by 300 to 900%. Now these numbers I would like to show you for India. Average temperature has gone up 0.7 degrees Celsius during 1901 to 2018. Intense heat waves, that means 45 degrees Celsius plus. 20,615 heat strokes deaths between 2000 to 2020. Sea level rise, coastline eroded 33.6% between 1990 to 2018. Groundwater depletion, rapid groundwater depletion 1.5 centimeter per year, net loss of about 450 kilometer cube of groundwater during 2002 to 2021. Crop yield reduction to the extent of 10% to 40%. And 35 trillion annual economic loss by next 50 years, which has been projected. Here you can see across the country on the right side in the map, what are the risks emanating from climate change across geographical locations in India, Himalayas, desert, coastal plants, central peninsular Paleota, and India Gangetic Plains. All of them are very, very threatening. Under these conditions, India has made a major commitment today that to prevent all this to happen, India will work on a NDC framework, and that our Honorable Prime Minister has announced often under the COP. 50% installed power capacity by non-fossil by 2030, additional carbon sink 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent by 2030 through the tree cover, 45% reduction in the emission intensity by 2030, and we should achieve net zero by 2070. These are known figures today. For achieving this, there is a need for us to evolve our strategy for energy transition. And that's why, as Dr. Mohanty was mentioning and Dr. Sonde also mentioned, I think we have a very clear pathway. First of all, because industry is one of the responsible agent for greenhouse gas emissions, so industry decarbonization, using carbon capture and utilization in all other plants wherever the carbon dioxide emissions are there, use of alternate fuels like methanol, ethanol, and ammonia, cleaner fuels, I call them. Of course, nuclear power is going to be one of the major source of base power for the country. Use of hydrogen, maximum use of renewables, go for sustainable mobility, and also provide energy storage as one of the major requirements. For this, we can only say that many of the instruments which are available, for example, energy transition, industrial decarbonization, all of them. With this, the emerging technologies such as green hydrogen, carbon capture and utilization, nuclear energy and renewables can together create a diversified and low carbon energy ecosystem in the country. That is what we can talk of. What is the status of our energy in terms of the present capacity? Renewables remain the backbone of India's decarbonization strategy. India ranks 4th globally in RE installed, 4th in the wind power and 3rd in the solar power. Installed non-fossil capacity about 256 gigawatts. We have a target of 500 gigawatts by 2030, which will take us to 50% renewable. And about 176 gigawatts worth RE projects are under implementation, with about 72 gigawatts under bidding stages. And this is how the distribution is there in the pie chart as indicated. You can see the thermal is still about 240 gigawatts. Solar is about 110 gigawatts. Now, if we have to really achieve what Dr. Mohanty was telling, and Dr. Sorne also mentioned this figure, that for our meeting our energy demands and achieving a human development index of 0.95, our energy requirement will be of the order of 28,000 terawatt hour. And our capacity with respect to the renewables is about 8 to 10,000 terawatt hours. In that case, you have a deficit of something of the order of 20,000 terawatt hours. And the only way you can achieve this deficit or fulfill that deficit through nuclear energy. And that's why I want to talk about how the nuclear energy is going to help. Over the past 5 decades, nuclear power has cumulatively avoided emissions of about 70 gigatons of carbon dioxide and continues to avoid more than 1 gigaton CO2 annually. This is a global figure. And globally, if we want to control that, if we can go for conservative approach, about 400 gigawatt equivalent of, it will avoid about 30 gigatons of carbon dioxide. But with an ambitious approach, installing a nuclear capacity of 1160 gigawatt equivalent, it will avoid about 75 gigatons of CO2, which will take us to what we call as the IPCC data of 1.5 degrees Celsius. So this is the projection. India is pursuing, as Dr. Mohanty mentioned, a very strong nuclear program. We have a 3-stage nuclear programs where we are doing pressurized heavy water reactors, fast breeder reactors, and also thorium-based advanced reactors. There has been a 71% rise in the installed nuclear capacity to 8.78 or 8.8 gigawatts in 2025. Almost 60% increase in annual electricity generation from 2014-15. Our target is 100 gigawatts by 2047. And we are using different kinds of fuels, which is technologies, not fuels, like small modular reactors, annealed fuel, and also working towards fusion energy. This is the distribution of plants what we have today in our country. The major push which is going to come in the country on the nuclear, as announced in the budget, is for the development of small modular reactors, advanced nuclear power plant that produce about 300 megawatts equivalent. Individual modules are built in factories and transported to the site for installation. There are various benefits of that: better affordability, shorter construction time, wider range of users, site flexibility, reduced carbon dioxide production, and integration with renewables that can happen. These are some of the major benefits of the SMR, and I think India should work on that in a big way. There is a program announced in which Bharat Small Bharat Small Reactors and Bharat Small Modular Reactors have been identified by Government of India, and I think Department of Atomic Energy is working vigorously to achieve those objectives. As Dr. Mohanty said, nuclear energy is not just for electricity, but nuclear desalination, process heating for industry, clean hydrogen production. These are various other methods. Now coming to hydrogen production. Green hydrogen, the decarbonization catalyst, produced from renewable sources, has immense potential to decarbonize hard-to-abate sectors like steel, cement, and so on. We have a national green hydrogen mission with a funding of almost 19,744 crores till about 29-30, with a target of producing 5 million tons per annum of green hydrogen by 2030, which will reduce a cumulative 1 lakh crore worth of fossil fuel imports by 2030, attract over about 8 lakh crore of investment, generate around 6 lakh jobs by 2030, and cost targets of hydrogen should come down to less than $2 per kg. So we have created industrial zones, valleys, ports, all of them to ensure that export-oriented decarbonization strategies are put in place. But one of the major problems which we are facing as far as the cost of hydrogen is concerned, it requires two major parameters to be controlled. Parameter one is the cost of electricity. Today, if you take globally, cost of electricity around $65 per megawatt hours. And another case which has been studied is $20 per megawatt hours. And taking down with these, the brown curve and the green curve, the other one is, if you have 65 megawatt per hour, an electrolyzer cost, which is presently in the region of $1,000 per kilowatt, brought down to $307 per kilowatt with an installed capacity of about 1 terawatt, that will bring the cost of hydrogen in the region of $3. But if you want to achieve $2, you have to go slightly different. You have to go to a power cost of $20 per megawatt hours, and electrolyzer cost has to be brought down by putting 5 terawatt capacity, installed capacity, to $130 per kilowatt. Now that is a kind of a humongous task we have in terms of technology and in terms of scale of production of electrolyzers, with critical minerals and materials coming in the way in a big way. I think it is a major journey for the technologies to perform. As mentioned, CCUS is managing the transition, because coal, even in 2070, will be one of the filling agents as far as the gap energy is concerned. So CCUS, carbon capture and utilization, CO2 from exhaust gases, utilization using material in products with markets, chemicals, and so on, or storage in the aquifers and basalt rocks and so on. India has a capacity of about 500 gigatons of storage potential, which can be in the enhanced oil recovery, enhanced coal bed methane, saline aquifers, and so on. Many sectors where CCUS can be used are cement, power, steel, fertilizers, and so on, refineries. So we have 5 CCU test beds which have been launched in the cement sector under the PPP. I think DST is taking a major initiative in that direction. And National Center of Excellence in CCU will be established in Mumbai and Bangalore. CCU cabinet paper is under preparation today. So current challenges in this particular area are capacity generation mismatch. 50% non-fossil capacity achieved, but only 28% generation from non-fossil sources. Grid limitations, weak transmission and storage infrastructure, restrict renewable integration and interstate power transfer. Funding inadequacy, despite the fact that we have these missions, unavailability of sufficient R&D funding and high upfront investment costs, constrained project development and implementation. Just before coming here, we were discussing having established coal to methanol and carbon capture and utilization. There's a need for us to scale up that indigenous technology to something like 300 tons per day kind of a system, and it requires investment. Fragmented policy enforcement, under-resourced regulators and bureaucratic overlaps, create a persistent policy practice gap. And economic versus environmental priorities focus on industrialization and infrastructure development sometimes leads to clashes with climate mitigation objectives. We have many government policies which are already there. National Action Plan on Climate Change. We have a PAT scheme for industrial energy efficiency. We have a FAME scheme for promoting electric mobility. We have Mission Life. All of you know it was one of the favorite mission of our Honorable Prime Minister. National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change and State Action Plans for Climate Change. India's National Carbon Market aims to develop a rate-based emission trading system and carbon credit trading scheme. And smart cities mission like PM Kusum, PM E-Drive, and so on. Just to give you an overview, if we do not make any change, if we continue in the form of a business as usual, what happens to total greenhouse gas emissions? Business as usual gives you that greenhouse gas emissions, the top line, the red line, is about 150 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent, and which will result into a temperature rise of 4.1 to 4.8 degrees Celsius by 2100. Whatever policies we have today, if we continue by 2050, we will have about 50 gigatons of greenhouse gas emissions, limiting the global temperature within 2.5 to 2.9 degrees Celsius. So we have to implement the strategies for 2 degrees and 1.5 degrees, which are the bottom lines here. And these pathways to limit greenhouse gas emissions peak by 2025 and reach a net zero by 2070. This is what we need to do. This is alarming because most of the time we are violating these guidelines. So we have to work on that. And hence, the way forward to conclude is integrating energy and environment policy, establish a unified national sustainability framework to align all ministries and state policies, enhancing the R&D, increase funding, focusing on sustainability and improving the environment, scaling green finance, expand green bonds, sovereign sustainability funds, and blended finance models. Efficient renewable energy integration that requires modernization of the transmission networks and deploying smart grids to bridge installed capacity and utilization gaps. Public-private partnership, which has been certainly supported in the past, but we have to make it more attractive, and foreign investment has to be sought. Transition planning, develop reskilling programs for a smooth transition from fossil fuels to renewables, ensuring social inclusion in the energy shift. With these few words, I would like to conclude and say we are on the right path, but I think there's a need for us to accelerate the whole process and get over these challenges which I mentioned to you. The work is on, but the work has to be expedited. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. That was truly insightful and inspirational presentation. Thank you once again. It has probably touched all the aspects of energy, environment, and climate. Our session now moves to 3 targeted talks that will delve into specific action areas. The first session speaker, Ms. Riya Majumdar Singhal, is founder of Ecoware, India's first and largest sustainable packaging company. Her talk will be on scaling sustainability, innovation that builds a resilient Bharat. You have 10 minutes, ma'am. Slides. Slides, please.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I have a very hard task of following my distinguished panelists and their respective talks. I am privileged to be here today. I have the honor to speak to you from the perspective of an entrepreneur, who has been scaling sustainable solutions since 2009 and really contributing to building what I believe at least is a resilient Bharat. If Viksit Bharat 2047 is our collective destination, then decarbonization is not an obligation. It is our opportunity. It is the defining industrial revolution of our time, one that can make India cleaner, stronger, and more globally competitive. For India, decarbonization is not just about reducing emissions. It is about creating new industries, new jobs, and new value chains that can power inclusive growth, not just for the current generation, but the next one coming. The question is not if we can get there. The question is, how fast can we move together? Bear with me whilst I can't move this. Okay, there we go. India stands at a unique inflection point, a nation of unmatched scale, ingenuity, and youthful energy. I think all of us in this room bullishly believe that we are the only major economy where growth and sustainability can advance together. To translate intent into industrial advantage, I believe we need to act on 3 fronts. First, electrify what we can, from transportation, manufacturing to city services and logistics. Second, decarbonize materials. Steel, cement, chemicals, packaging, the hard-to-abate sectors that define our industrial backbone. Third, design for circularity, so that value is retained, reused, and regenerated, and not discarded. And critically, we must rethink our approach to innovation. Pilots are not victory laps. Procurement is the scale engine. We need to stop celebrating proof of concept. We need to start delivering on proof of scale. It is time to move from announcements to adoption. Sorry, I am struggling with this. There we go. Innovation for India. I'm going to take the next few minutes just to highlight some of the ventures that we've created, we're looking to scale, and we're working and constantly working towards. So what does innovation look like when it is designed for the Indian context? We are seeing extraordinary breakthroughs, not imported, but invented, adapted, and built right here. EcoWare is an organization we founded in 2009 with a very simple but ambitious goal: to eliminate single-use plastic packaging in India by replacing it with materials that are 100% natural, biodegradable, and compostable within a 90-day period, and most importantly, affordable and scalable. We began by transforming sugarcane bagasse, a residue which is usually burnt or discarded, into sturdy, naturally biodegradable tableware that requires no industrial composting or waste segregation, solving problem and challenges and bypassing challenges of waste systems today, even today. From a single line of plates and bowls, EcoWare today offers over 100 different products across various different industries. Over the years, that idea grew into a national enterprise. We have proudly replaced over 100 million pieces of single-use plastic, diverted thousands of tons of agro-waste from landfills, and built green jobs, and which out of at least 30% of them are held by women. But the impact goes far beyond packaging. It has built a circular supply chain that links farmers, mills, manufacturers, distributors, and consumers. Through purpose and innovation, we took what was once waste and created not just a new industry, but value, employment, and positively impacted livelihoods. And we put India on the map as a global manufacturer for such products. EcoWare's journey proves that sustainable manufacturing is not just a compromise, it is a competitive advantage. Our work sits within a broader ecosystem of sustainable innovation. The slide in front of you, shows you our next innovation, which is Sugarcrete, developed with the University of East London and Chemical Systems Technologies in India. It again takes agricultural waste and turns it into ultra-low carbon building blocks, replacing traditional cement blocks with only 15 to 20% of the carbon footprint and protecting our topsoil. We've already used this to build classrooms in Noida, and we are continuously scaling this as well. From buildings to brands, the same philosophy extends to Raineye, a sustainable swimwear label founded, again, in Delhi here. Each piece is crafted and from regenerated ocean waste and recycled nylon, proving that sustainability and style can coexist beautifully. It is a reminder that circular design isn't limited to industry. It can live in what we wear, how we build, and how we consume. Similarly, Absolute Water technology converts sewage water to tap water. It treats industrial effluents, enabling zero liquid discharge and reducing water usage in heavy industry. The same raw material logic, agricultural residue, process integration, circularity is at work across all these innovations. Whether you take EcoWare packaging, Sugarcrete, Absolute Water, or Raineye, they all share one vision, which is to turn local waste into global impact. Globally, we see the same story unfolding across various different ventures where AI-driven waste sorting is revolutionizing material recovery. Computer vision and robotics now segregates waste automatically, reducing contamination and improving recycling efficiencies. We see smart building systems using sensors and adaptive algorithms to regulate temperature and humidity, cutting energy usage by up to 25%. Imagine if every hospital, every school, every building to operate as a self-regulating, low-emission ecosystem. We've seen food rescue platforms like Zomato for surplus connect restaurants and canteens to NGOs within minutes, redistributing food before it becomes waste that reduces methane emissions and tackles food insecurities. So whether it's packaging, building materials, water, the logic is the same. We are building a new industrial ecosystem where sustainability is not a vertical, it is the foundation. At the backbone of this is the entrepreneurs and MSMEs. India's economic story isn't written in boardrooms, ladies and gentlemen. It is written on factory floors, in workshops, and in innovation clusters across the country. Entrepreneurs and MSMEs, we know, are the backbone of this country. They already contribute approximately 30% of the GDP, employ over 110 million people, and drive half of India's exports. For Viksit Bharat 2047, greening this backbone is not a side note. It is central to our competitiveness and resilience. To make that real, innovation must meet MSME economics. We need to make these ventures accessible, affordable, and scalable without heavy external dependencies. If we want decarbonization that scales, it must be MSME first. India's decarbonization story will be won or lost in the MSME clusters. They need tailored standards, retrofit kits, and outcome-based finance that rewards verified emission cuts and no more lengthy proposals. 3 principles guide this transition. First, as I mentioned, innovation that fits the Indian unit economics. The best technology we know isn't the most exotic. It's the one a small workshop can run without calling any external engineer. And we know the readiness is there. 73% of MSMEs in semi-urban and rural India, report business growth from digital adoption, UPI, smartphone, e-commerce. The leap to low carbon tech is not far. Second, fast lanes for adoption. Clear standards, plug-and-play toolkits, cluster-level support, so that a tannery in Kanpur or a kiln in Morbi can transition with minimum downtime. Third, finance that pays for outcomes. When a small manufacturer cuts energy use or emissions, reward the verified result and not the proposal. Our shared mission is to shorten the distance from pilot to paycheck, so innovation becomes livelihood and not a press release. When entrepreneurs lead and MSMEs adopt, decarbonization becomes an economic multiplier and not a compliance cost. And within this transition, women entrepreneurs are catalytic. Yet women only own 26% of MSMEs and face a 35% credit gap. The low carbon transition cannot reach full scale unless this gap is closed. And our approach is an inclusive one. Policy is the demand signal. Entrepreneurs are the supply engine. Together, they create the flywheel of sustainable growth. We need green public procurement that rewards verified performance, smart adaptive infrastructure built for water sensitivity, heat resilience, distributed renewables, with storage for reliable public services, certification sandbox that lets innovation reach markets faster, and digital MRV systems to make climate action transparent and bankable. When policy and technology move together, they don't just accelerate decarbonization, they de-risk it. Sorry. Oh, didn't mean to go back, okay. This is not a story of sacrifice, it is a story of reinvention. Imagine an India that builds next generation biocomposites, stronger and lighter than plastic. Imagine products designed for disassembly and not disposable. Imagine digital product passports that trace every material from farm to factory, building trust and accountability. Imagine industrial symbiosis, where one sector's waste becomes another's input, cementing India's leadership in circular manufacturing. That is how we future-proof our growth, making it low carbon, high value, and job-rich. The way forward, now comes the part that matters most, execution. The low-hanging fruit, AI waste sorting in at least 10 cities across the country, smart metering, city-wide food rescue networks, all enabled by open standards, transparent data, and MSME-focused tech transfer. These pilots will show what is possible when policy, innovation, and entrepreneurship move together. When we back innovation with clarity and MSMEs with opportunity, we create jobs, competitiveness, and credibility all at once. So as we look ahead, the message is clear. Viksit Bharat 2047 is not an aspiration, it is an action blueprint. To make it real, we must empower our entrepreneurs and MSMEs, the heartbeat of India's economy, with innovation that fits our context, standards that reward our performance, and finance that pays for verified outcomes. I'm going to tell you what I love about entrepreneurship. When the world sees something that they perceive as challenging, an entrepreneur looks at it and sees it as an opportunity. And that is the difference. My call to action to all the large-scale dignitaries that are sitting here, support us. Bring us into your supply chains. Help us move. We are more than proof of concept, and we need you to help us scale to the next level. When decarbonization works for the smallest and most underrepresented entrepreneur, it works for the entire country. When we align policy with proof, and we have a lot of policies in this country, and we implement it strictly, along with innovation and inclusion, we will not just meet our climate goals, we redefine industrial advantage of the 21st century. We need to move from promise to proof. We need to make sure that decarbonization is the next great engine of our country's growth that makes us cleaner, smarter, and more resilient, built by our entrepreneurs and backed by our government and our private sector. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the very excellent talk on sustainable innovation and how to build an ecosystem for startups. Our next speaker, Mr. Anuj Sharma, CEO of Vari Clean Energy Private Limited, will delve into green hydrogen, the key link between clean energy, environment, and climate action. Sir, you have 10 minutes.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here amongst all of you, dignitaries as well as the participants, and talk about this very important topic on energy, environment, and climate. Although quite a lot has already been covered by Dr. Saraswat, and I think that makes my job much easier, I would say. So I'm just going to talk a few things. There could be few things which are repetitive. I'll try to skip, but try to bring in an industry perspective and what do we expect from the academia as well. I think we did talk about why there is a urgent need for us to do an energy transition. While obviously from energy is something which is extremely important, there are various ways. It could be, the energy could be derived from coal, from renewable energy, nuclear. I'm just going to talk a little bit about hydrogen today. Now, before I get into the hydrogen, I think there is quite a lot which has been done already by India. I think India has shown a huge leadership on the climate commitment, and we had taken a target of reaching 50% non-fossil fuel energy by 2030, and we have achieved that in 2025 itself. So I think it's a great demonstration of the commitment what we have towards the climate. But I think, so whatever can be electrified is, I think, getting done. The various programs by the government like PM Surya Ghar Yojana or PM Kusum, I think that is already driving adoption of renewable energy, not only at industrial scale, but even at the household level as well. But I think challenge for us is how do we really decarbonize hard to abate sectors? So these are not, these are the sectors which cannot be directly electrified. And there, I think the utility of green hydrogen really comes into picture. Hydrogen is a very versatile and clean energy carrier. And here, if you talk about some of these hard to abate sectors like refineries or fertilizers, which are today using hydrogen as a feedstock and generating it by using fossil fuels, if they are shifting to green hydrogen, the CO2 intensity, CO2 emission intensity clearly gets reduced by almost about 80 to 90%. So yes, this is certainly a very, very viable alternative to the gray hydrogen. I think that there remains certain challenges with respect to cost, and we'll talk about it on this. But clearly, green hydrogen is something which cuts across all these sectors, be it the transport, be it fertilizer, refineries, chemical industries, steel, all of those. Here, I think we already talked about some of these hard to abate sectors. Obviously, refineries use hydrogen for hydrocracking or hydrotreating. It's a feedstock. Similar is the case on fertilizers, which use ammonia. Again, NH3 made from hydrogen. You have shipping sector, which is running obviously on the fossil fuels today, but there is a clear need for us to shift to cleaner fuels, which could be in the form of green hydrogen derivatives, either ammonia or methanol. We're talking about transport, and here again, the hydrogen, either ICE engines or fuel cell based transportation, I think that's going to be key. We already have National Green Hydrogen Mission. It has been talked about. I think the aim is to have 5 million metric ton of production by 2030. But the question is that, are we on track to hit this 5 million metric ton of production? And that's going to happen once there is a clear demand which gets created. While quite a lot of work is happening towards creating the demand, there is already fertilizer sector which has come forward, and there have been certain auctions which have been done by SECI for green ammonia, which is a positive sign. Refinery demand also is coming up, but clearly we are significantly short. So if we really look at what has been tendered so far, or what kind of demand has been created, I would say it's just close to about, less than 1 million ton per annum of green hydrogen. And it takes roughly about 2.5 years, or sometimes even 3 years, for us to create all of these assets. So looks like we are clearly short on our target of 5 million metric ton, and what's required from the policymakers here is how can we really create a demand which is going to really catalyze the whole green hydrogen industry as well. And here again, some of the key things which the National Green Hydrogen Mission is focusing on is not just about the production of green hydrogen, but also creating an ecosystem in terms of electrolyzer manufacturing, which is the key equipment required for production of green hydrogen, and also about creating the research and development infrastructure, creating the pilot scale projects through the green hydrogen valleys that is being done. And talking a little bit about the green hydrogen valleys, I think this is where the valleys are going to focus on the entire value chain, be it production of green hydrogen, storage, transport, safety and utilization, and create the use cases for the industry to really scale up production of green hydrogen. But I think here again, the speed of execution is something which we really need to focus on, and look at what different can be done in each of these hydrogen valleys in terms of looking at the entire value chain, including even the storage, whether it should be in form of high pressure hydrogen, looking at liquid hydrogen, or maybe even looking at fuel cell usages, fuel cells, all of these. Moving forward, in terms of what industry is doing and what Waaree is doing, obviously Waaree is into production of solar modules. We are the largest solar module manufacturing company, further doing expansions, both backward and forward integrations. We are also coming up with the battery energy storage system and creating a lithium-ion cell manufacturing facility of about 4 gigawatt-hour. In terms of green hydrogen, we are coming up with a 1 gigawatt electrolyzer manufacturing facility, and also looking at active working on green hydrogen, green ammonia, and green methanol as well. I think clearly from a opportunity point of view, energy independence, energy security is clearly a big opportunity. We can replace the fossil fuel which is being imported, most of that, and obviously large investments which are being put into the whole energy transition itself. But I just want to highlight about the challenges, and particularly on the cost competitiveness. Few things which I just want to highlight, as the production linked incentives were being awarded by the under the site scheme by SECI. Now here, obviously, you don't have the technology available within India, which is proven at a commercial scale. I think that's something which we really need to focus on. How can we have commercially available technologies, not just looking at TRL3, TRL4, but the institutes, academia delivering somewhere around at least TRL7, TRL6 or TRL7 kind of readiness, so that the industry could adopt and then scale it further. We certainly need to focus on the efficiencies of these new nascent green hydrogen technologies. I think Dr. Saraswat talked about the CapEx is going to be key, and I think he gave certain numbers with respect to the CapEx for electrolyzers, reaching somewhere around $300 per kilowatt by 2050. Being in the industry, I can say those targets can certainly be achieved faster, but we also need to focus on the efficiencies. How can we improve the efficiency of these electrolyzers as well? And obviously what we require is a supporting policy framework for this, and I'll just talk a little bit more about it. I think I did talk about the demand creation. The moment we have demand creation, I think that acts as a big enabler for the industry to invest, invest into the manufacturing setup, into the research and development, and I'm sure there's a huge commitment which is required from both the industry as well as from the academia to work and scale up these technologies and keep improving it. And I think some of the mandates as we get into, the creation or generation of green hydrogen molecules in terms of adopting indigenously manufactured electrolyzers. And I'm just talking about electrolyzers because I'm talking about green hydrogen, but you talk about any such, components or equipments, we need to really promote the locally manufactured products. So I think this is going to be really helpful for advancing the indigenously developed technologies as well. Just a quick view on what China is doing. First and foremost, hydrogen is now a part of the national 15th five-year plan. And there are a few, I would say, path-breaking things which they have done, which I just want to highlight. First and foremost is they have done a reclassification of hydrogen from explosive to energy carrier, and because of which, there is a huge benefit which is coming their way. First and foremost is the whole permitting process itself has got simplified. There's a single window clearance, while all the needs with respect to safety in green hydrogen generation installations is being taken care of, but the permitting process itself has been, I would say, accelerated, and that's really helping them big time. Few other things which China has planned for, they are looking at installation of close to about 100 gigawatt of electrolyzers by 2030, which means close to about 8 million tons per annum of green hydrogen generation. As of today, they already have close to about 3.5 gigawatt, but a very large amount of projects are coming online, which shows the commitment not only from the government but also from the industry for adopting green hydrogen. In terms of electrolyzer manufacturing, while under the site scheme, close to about 3 gigawatt of capacity has been awarded in India, China is looking at building at least 25 gigawatt of electrolyzer manufacturing capacity. They are, I already talked about the 100 gigawatt is what they want to have installed electrolyzer capacity and generating close to about 8 million ton per annum of green hydrogen. In terms of mobility, they are looking at deploying somewhere around 4 lakh to 8 lakh hydrogen fuel cell vehicles by 2030, and by 2040, they are looking at deploying close to about 40 lakh to 80 lakhs vehicles. I think this is clearly phenomenal, and we also need to recalibrate ourselves in terms of what we are doing for accelerating the transition of adopting green hydrogen, particularly on the heavy mobility commercial vehicles. I think there are certain things for us to learn, and put into execution at our end as well, which is really going to help in terms of accelerating the energy transition. Just summarizing a few things, obviously large manufacturing scale-ups are required, and that comes from obviously the demand generation both on the green hydrogen side needs to be there. Learnings from hydrogen valleys are going to be extremely important as we very widely adopt green hydrogen and not just for few specific sectors. I think a very stable policy and supportive policy is required. A lot of work needs to be done on the R&D. I think while we have done exceptionally well on the digital or the financial services side of it, but I think it's time when we really focus on the deep tech and bring in technologies, be it on the electrolyzers, be it on the fuel cells, be it on the storages, high pressure storages, pipelines. All of this is very much the need of the hour. I think we are taking all the right steps and I do believe that India can achieve the cost parity with the fossil fuels in the years to come and establish itself as a global hub for green hydrogen and derivatives, not only taking care of the domestic demand but also exporting some of these products out. With that, I end my session here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was a fascinating discussion on green hydrogen. Our third and final speaker today is Dr. Dave Smith, National Technology Advisor, UK Government. We look forward to your thoughts on UK-India collaboration in making impact through innovation. Sir.
When we gather to talk about emerging science, technology and innovation, we're not just talking about invention, we're talking about ideas and how ideas can shape the planet. And the people in this room are the people who have those ideas and shape the planet. And we get paid for it. We're very lucky. There are very few topics that test the need for those ideas and very few that produce the impact as when we're looking at how we solve for energy without damaging the climate. I'm going to be talking a little bit about governments, but actually, if we're going to succeed, this is about people. It's always about people, even in the age of AI. And as we heard from Prime Minister Modi yesterday, self-reliance requires collaboration. No one person can do this. So we need to come together. And in my life in the private sector, I've sometimes seen government as a problem. Sometimes I've ignored them. But in this case, they're actually two governments and they're part of the solution. So I'm very proud to be here to talk about that. In the last year, we've seen incredible momentum in the relationship of the UK and India in science and technology. It began with something called the Technology Security Initiative, which set out a new framework for collaboration in critical technologies, cyber, telecoms, AI, critical minerals, and more. Technologies that are going to underpin our future. Then, during Prime Minister Modi's visit to the UK in July, our two nations launched the India-UK Vision 2035. We also signed a trade agreement then to get rid of some of the barriers that get in the way when two countries want to work together. And last month, Prime Minister Starmer came here with the largest UK business delegation ever, and I'll come back to the private sector more, confirmed that vision, which is now about turning that strategy into collaboration and that collaboration into delivery. So these are not ceremonial moments. They reflect something deeper, a shared conviction that our two countries are good friends, we share the same values, and we already work together in every aspect of life. We also recognise that the focus on climate and environment is a transition to net zero, but it can also be the engine of economic growth. In the UK now, over half our energy comes from renewable sources, and I see that that's a very similar picture in India. We have reached a similar stage, but it always gets harder. The easy bit comes first. Now it gets harder. And we're on that same journey, and so it's great that we can work together on it. Before I joined government a couple of years ago, I spent many years in industry, latterly at Rolls-Royce. The power, not the car, unfortunately. I didn't get a company car. I had to look at jet engines, and if you ever fly with me, I will bore you about what the jet engine is and how well it works. And if you're not nervous, I'll explain what can go wrong. But Rolls-Royce had to invent itself for this new era. So when I joined, the Rolls-Royce's Scope 3 emissions, so kind of almost the third-hand ones, but generated from Rolls-Royce products, generate 0.7% of the world's CO2 every year. And when you think about that, when you think about all the energy creation that we have, that's remarkable. And maybe 20 years ago, everyone would have been very proud of that because that says business success. And now we're not proud of that. Now we need to solve that problem. So I was very fortunate in being given that question: how do we decarbonise flight power industry whilst maintaining growth, whilst maintaining competitiveness? So I led our net zero strategy, helping the company map its pathways for all its businesses, from hydrogen combustion and small modular reactors, which we've heard about, to sustainable aviation fuels and microgrids. And that taught me a number of lessons. One is, transition is a systems challenge. You can't decarbonise one sector in isolation. And governments find system thinking, system engineering quite difficult, but we have to do that. Innovation also happens in ecosystems. Every breakthrough at Rolls-Royce, whether it's in a turbine material or a digital twin, came from collaboration between suppliers, customers, and universities. The third is that private sector leadership is absolutely essential. We can't leave this just to governments. Governments have an important role. They set the targets, they set the vision. But the net zero transition can't be delivered by governments alone. It has to be designed, financed and delivered by the private sector. And those experiences shape how I see today's conversation. The climate challenge is too important to be a contest. It's where we have to come together to share ingenuity, and nowhere is that partnership more promising than this topic between the UK and India. So we have, you might have to just look at my face for I'll try the other one. There we go. We have a shared commitment, Vision 2035, and that's got a climate and energy pillar in it, and it commits us to collaborate on energy storage and grid transformation. The India-UK Offshore Wind Task Force has been set up. We're jointly developing a carbon credit trading system. We're engaging on nuclear and hydrogen technologies and support for deep tech climate solutions through a thing called the Net Zero Innovation Partnership, NZIP. And it's not just a policy framework, this is a delivery mechanism. It's not just words. And it means that innovation doesn't just remain confined to labs or to conferences like this, important though they are, but gets out there into factories, ports, cities, homes. So the Net Zero Innovation Partnership I referred to, I've no idea where I am in my slides. If you can match the slides to my words, you'll have done very well. I might have a quick stab at it occasionally, but I think that'll do. It's a nice picture anyway. At the centre of our bilateral cooperation sits the Net Zero Innovation Partnership, which is a coalition of policymakers, investors, we've got a lot of money on board, companies and researchers from both nations. And through that, we are looking at decarbonising energy and transport systems, developing low-carbon fuels, scaling carbon capture, utilisation and storage, and promoting that circular economy. And we've heard about all of those today, so it's central to everything that we're trying to do. There's an Innovating for Transport and Energy Systems accelerator, which is one of the things within NZIP. I'm going to carry on pressing buttons in hope. Anyway, that has delivered over 67 innovation masterclasses, 140 business introductions, collaborating, bringing people together. That's what this is about. And 23 formal agreements so far between UK innovators and Indian partners. So there are many exciting examples from this. There's solid state, lithium, sodium, batteries. Tata Power are collaborating with a UK company called LINA. Which is to generate more sustainable, cost-effective solutions than the traditional lithium-ion. We've got a climate tech startup fund. So money, can't do this without money. We need the money. So the Climate Tech Startup Fund, which was launched during Prime Minister Starmer's visit here, commits £200 million. I'm not going to do the crore rupees in my head because I'll get it wrong. To joint investment in accelerating the next generation of solutions. And that follows a previous tech startup fund of around the same amount of money, which created over 4,000 green jobs. So this is real, this is big. One of the early successes is something called Hygenco, an Indian green hydrogen startup that commissioned one of the nation's first green hydrogen plants in 2024. And it's how public-private partnerships can come together. For the private sector, this is not just a sort of compliance cost, something you've got to tick off. This is an industrial revolution. And we talk about the AI revolution. We have two revolutions going on at the same time. It's an extremely exciting time to be an engineer. It's an extremely exciting time to be trying to write the right policies for all of this and get your society benefiting from it, because neither of those are easy to do. And decarbonisation is creating entirely new markets, and it's innovation that defines them. There we go. Some of these slides refer to some things I've said. Thank you very much. No problem. So I'll pick up the last one on there, Aspire. So this is called Accelerating Smart Power and Renewable Energy in India. And the UK's helped to unlock over £7 billion worth of potential investment in India's energy sector. Now, it's private money unlocked by government action. And so we're supporting India's first offshore wind tenders in Gujarat, development of a turbine test facility. It goes on and on. There's a long list of things on my speech, which I won't give you with lots of numbers, but we've heard lots of numbers, but we're in the gigawatts. So we've also got a thing called the Neve Fund, which was co-invested by both governments. This put 14 million into a company called Blue Planet, which is a waste company that operates both in the UK, creating 100 jobs in the UK, and putting 50 million of new investment in, but also in India. And these projects tell a pretty consistent story. When the UK's science and India's entrepreneurs and scale combine, the results are global. And I love the fact that you were talking about, we do this in India and then we export. And I think that's got to be the answer. You dominate your market, then you export. So another country's done that quite well recently, and we need to learn from that lesson. The first phase of our UK-India relationship was about policy alignment, but the next phase has to be about private sector acceleration. Governments can set these frameworks, we've set them, but delivery depends on entrepreneurs like RIA, on investors, and on industrial leaders. The private sector is where innovation happens, capital flows, and the jobs are created. And Until something is a product, it is useless because you cannot use it. And when I say that to my academic friends, and I say everything you do is useless because you can't use it, they're not impressed. But the principle is there. You have to take that science and you have to turn it into something that you can use and you can buy that's a product. Both of us now access each other's markets without many barriers. For UK firms, India is one of the most dynamic markets for clean tech, demanding scalable, affordable solutions. It's brilliant. It's opportunity. And there's also enormous talent here, of course. For Indian firms, the UK offers world-class R&D, regulatory expertise, and access to green finance through the London financial system. By linking those strengths, we can create a shared growth that's both sustainable and inclusive and benefits our economies. We need to make profit in our economies in order to pay tax to make everyone's lives better. The offshore wind sector alone could generate tens of thousands of jobs and billions in investment across both nations. From my experience at Rolls-Royce, one lesson stands out, which is this transition only really gathers pace when industry feels the ownership of it. So I look at our government frameworks. I love the fact that we're knocking down the barriers. I love the fact that we're providing some funding to get people working together. But in the end, it has to be those companies coming together believing that this is the right thing to do. When we did a net zero plan for Rolls-Royce, it wasn't a government mandate, it was a business imperative. We had to do it. So looking forward, as both our nations navigate this decisive decade, I believe three things will define success. First is partnerships. Each party needs to depend on each other for a good partnership. UK and India are equal partners. Second is private sector pragmatism and drive. Third is momentum with purpose. Every project, every partnership must deliver lower impact, deliver lower emissions. So as we look to the future, let's remember the climate challenge is global, but the solutions are human. And they come from the imagination of scientists in Pune and Cambridge, from engineers in Derby and Chennai, and in the startup accelerators of Bengaluru and Manchester. And on that note, thank you very much.
Thank you. I must say we had really diverse talks touching various domains, energy, environment, and climate. My sincere thanks to all our speakers for sharing their valuable experience and bringing the insight from the field. May I now request our thematic committee chairman, Professor Sonde, to formally felicitate our dignitaries on the dais with a token of our deepest respect and gratitude. Can we have So Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty, please. So Dr. Saraswat, sir. Dr. Dev Smith, please. Dr. Dev. Mr. Anu Sharma. And Ms. Riya Majumdar. Sir, now I humbly request Session Chair to felicitate Professor Sondev with a token, sir. Thank you, sir. With this, our first segment of the session concludes. May I request our esteemed dignitaries to kindly take their respective seats in the audience, please? Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we now transition to a dynamic panel discussion where our experts will engage in a focused dialogue to critically analyze whether growing energy needs of India conflicts with climate change commitments or indeed this is an opportunity for India to reinvent itself. I think all of us present in this hall are trying to solve this puzzle in some way or other. And I'm sure this discussion will definitely be of huge help. With kind permission of Chair, I would like to invite our moderator of today's discussion, Sri Bhuvan Chandra Pathak, Chairman and Managing Director, Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, on the dais, please. Thank you, sir. And our esteemed panelist, Sri Ajay Talegaonkar, Member, Economic and Commercial, Central Electricity Authority, and ex officio Additional Secretary to the Government of India. Shri Amit Sharma, Managing Director and CEO, Tata Consulting Engineering Limited. Shri Gurdeep Singh, CMD, NTPC Limited. Dr. Ashish Lele, Director, CSIR, National Chemical Laboratory, and Shri Ashish Bhandari, Managing Director and CEO, Thermax Limited. Thank you, sir. Thank you. With your permission, sir, may I now hand over the proceeding to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm privileged to moderate this panel discussion today on energy, environment, climate. The title of the discussion is, does growing energy needs of India conflicts with the climate change commitment, or indeed this is an opportunity for India to reinvent itself? As we all know, we have set 2047 as the target for becoming a developed nation, and 2070 as the net zero carbon emission. Of course, this has to be done with Atmanirbhar concept in all the aspects, and also we aspire to have a clean, pollution-free environment which is sustainable over the centuries. So achieving $33 trillion economy in Viksit Bharat involves sustaining very high growth of economy, calls for tripling of energy demand by 2047 in less than 25 years from now, if we continue, as Dr. Saraswat has already mentioned, if we continue to use our conventional methods, the emissions level are going to be very, very high. As we all know, the energy and industrial process constitute the major component of the carbon emission. So there is a need to decarbonize the whole industry. And also, we have the responsibility to have a very clean environment, and this can basically be developed by recycling waste management models. We have to therefore find technology solutions through innovation across the board in terms of technology, business model, financing, regulation, and all related aspects to find a balance. So also we need to create natural carbon sinks continuously. Economic viability and public acceptance are other critical factors for ensuring sustainability of the solutions. Thus, as we pursue the clean energy transition, we need to ensure that technologies and business model adopted have to be affordable, acceptable at public at large, and be conducive for large market penetrations. So to discuss all those aspects, we have eminent panel of distinguished personalities. Now I will introduce our esteemed colleagues, Mr. Gurdeep Singh, he is CMD NTPC. Mr. Ajay Talegaonkar, he was member Economic and Commercial, now member of APTEL. Sri Amit Sharma ji, MD, CEO, Tata Consulting Engineers. Dr. Ashish Lele, Director, National Chemical Laboratory, Pune. Sri Ashish Bhandari, MD, CEO, Thermites. So we have large questions and time available is very short, so we'll try to discuss within the time available. So may I now start with the question, and all the panelists are required, are basically supposed to respond on this. So the first question is, given India's projected threefold increase in energy demand to support a $30 trillion economy by 2047 and significant reduction in carbon emission for a net zero by 2070, what technological and strategic framework must be put in place to ensure energy independence and energy equity while managing the ecosystem, that is clean air, clean water, enriched soil, and of course, greenhouse reduction. So I'll start with Sri Gurdeep Singh ji.
Thank you. I think we have listened to the previous session where I think most of the things were discussed in detail. So without any kind of repeating many of the things and in the interest of the time, I think the first point is that it's a clear opportunity because when the economy is growing and reaching to almost 30 trillion, the power requirement is going to increase from the today's around, let's say around 1400 kilowatt hours per capita to approximately 4000 kilowatt hours per capita consumption. And to meet this, I think along with the transition and the climate and taking care of the environment, there are opportunities in most of the areas. This is starting with the kind of which is at present, I think the coal is still the kind of the backbone, but I think there is going to be enough opportunities that I think Dr. Saraswat just mentioned that even in 2070 there will be some role to play. So this is going to be the first one. The second one I would like to say is about the renewable energy. Renewable energy is not only wind and solar, but I would also put the hydro and kind of the biomass on the circularity on that side, and it also includes the MSW. So there are many opportunities into that area, whether it is solar and efficiency sides, kind of financial innovation, technological innovations, etc., on that side. there is a huge kind of opportunities in almost everywhere on the technology side also. So when we are saying that imagine we have to really innovate, but I think we should also going for the incubate and then install many of the new technologies. And there is a storage which is going to be requirement for the renewables. The another one is that how we can help deal with this waste, what is called MSW. So whether we can gainfully utilize it to convert into meaningful products. And then there is the third leg, which is most important, which is coming out, is the nuclear. And I would like to make one kind of appeal here that everyone present in the room should also start making some contribution towards making kind of awareness in the public that nuclear is as safe as any other technology, and I'm sure that Mr. Pathak will be able to throw some more light on that. And we have to go a long way in the nuclear that was mentioned, from 8.8 gigawatt to going up to 100 gigawatt by 2047. We as NTPC have also entered into that along with the joint venture with NPCIL, and afterwards we will be going for around 30 gigawatt by 2047. So there are enough opportunities. And in the initial remark, let me just take a pause and give the chance to the others. But let me make one kind of another suggestion to all the young scientists here or the entrepreneurs that who want to incubate their some of the ideas and who require some kind of help from the companies like NTPC. We will be more than happy to look at that, and we will be able to extend our little help, whatever it can, so that it will be helpful for our technological development and commercialize it for the Viksit Bharat. And let's try to see that we don't remain in a kind of only dependent on the Western or the now the lately with the other country which has come up very fast. So we should also be kind of developing our own technologies which works for us, and we should be able to go for the transition. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think the real question before us is that how do we go fast and at the same time grow with in a responsible way and in a sustained manner. So as Mr. Gurdeep Singh already said, that coal will remain, I think, our backbone. It will still remain a significant part. Only what we have to do is that how to make it, use it remains the question. Nuclear should be our anchor, because with a lot of variability of renewables, we need some anchor to the grid, and naturally nuclear can play that big role. Of course, renewables will always be there, but we have to also think, when we talk about renewables, we have to think about storage. And PSP is a proven technology, and we have to rely on that. We have abundant sites, so PSP can be a good solution for us as far as storage is concerned. But not only that, with the climate change, there will be many days on which, continuous days perhaps, when there will not be any solar. So we have to think of storage which is much, much longer, maybe for a couple of days. And I understand some exciting research is going on as far as the flow batteries are concerned. Yeah, so some exciting research is going on in India on flow batteries, and these can be a solution for our storage, for which can provide for a couple of days. I believe flow batteries are at a TRL level of 9, so they are just on the verge of commercial feasibility. So we can definitely use flow batteries as a long-term solution. By 2047, we will definitely need them. And then, of course, for hydrogen, nuclear can always come in and provide a support. So the crux, finally, I would like to say is that we have our own peculiar resources, we have our own peculiar problems, so we have to find our own solutions which are affordable and meet our needs, rather than adopting solutions from some other places. Thank you.
Namaskar, good afternoon. I think we have had some very interesting sessions, and A lot of data and metrics have been shared, and I completely agree with the previous speakers on this. So I'd like to keep it short and share some of my perspective, especially on, the clean, continuous, and cheap energy. This has been the approach for many years, where India was looking at hydro in a big way. But I think if there are two institutional metrics that really put us on the map, it's our space missions and our nuclear industry. And I think these are the two areas which is done increasingly well. And what this shows is the most important thing to define the future of India's energy growth with economic growth is confidence, ability to collaborate, and to really have drivers within the country to create solutions that are specific to what the country needs, rather than looking at exotic solutions that probably are relevant for other markets, but probably will not align to the various value chains that India has dominance in. For example, we've been naturally gifted with coal, with the ocean, with wind, solar, but also with thorium and geothermal. And if you combine all of these things, that's our sweet spot to truly define an energy equation that leverages India's unique positioning. I think environment, needless to say, must find solutions that are climate sensitive, but they must be based on real calculations. And what I mean real calculations, I mean the total cost of carbon, right from the pit to the end. If you look at energy return on investment studies, both done in India and outside, actually, it's very surprising that solar and batteries are the most carbon-intensive solutions. And the two best solutions from the pure carbon calculation, thermodynamically, as well as from a carbon impact, is actually nuclear and hydro. They have minimal land impact. They have the highest energy density returns. They use minimal metals and concrete, and they have the highest longevity. The EROI metrics on nuclear is 75. And hydro is about 50, which means if you put an energy X to the life cycle of these two, the output is 75 to 55. The EROI on solar, though it's a fast project, there are benefits, and none of my analysis says there's one is better than other. It's a relevance that one needs to look at, so it shouldn't be misunderstood. Solar is great in many aspects, but the EROI for solar is 3, as against 75 for nuclear and 55 for hydro. Finally, I think the very important part is about collaboration of minds, a very deep cooperation of public and private. Some of the innovations that we've done in the country are testaments for models that probably are defined in very exotic manners. They're PPP, but they are based on trust. If we truly can have public and private partnerships, that over the years many of the conglomerates in India have done with the government of India. When things happened first time in India, it was always a trust based on public and private partnerships. And of course, there are many examples to that. I won't talk about that. Circularity has been in the DNA of the country. We talk about no plastic bags. I think 20 years, 25 years back, we didn't have plastic bags. So we created an issue. I think circularity is in the DNA of the country, must go back and adopt that. Creation is by and for the citizens can only happen if there's true confidence. And in fact, the funding where we require is TRL 1, 2, 3. It's a great step forward for TRL 4 funding onwards, but that time the concept's already ready to be baked. I would also mention that some of the solutions we need to be careful before jumping into those, especially related to gas, batteries. As I said, they are not the sweet spot for India. And lastly, decentralized energy, especially with the gold or the oil of the future, which is data centers, will require distributed energy sources, a grid that is not just with transmission distribution of electrons, but also gas with hydrogen grid, possibly at the right price point. And lastly, all of this change will create probably insecurities, probably policies that wouldn't be looked at in the right manner. I think we need to be patient to create policies that are relevant to India and must do everything to enhance the focus on academia, in industry partnership, but also very deep trust-based public and private partnerships. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me in this wonderful session. I think in the previous part of this session, we heard India's roadmap for achieving energy transition with energy security, energy equity, and decarbonization lumped together. I just want to come in with a little bit of a word of caution, saying that we must, in this energy transition, never lose sight of sustainability. Now, sustainability is a complex issue. We should first and foremost not try and simplify it. We've done this simplification in the past. We have looked at energy technologies in a what we call a reductionist point of view. Look for solutions that are quick, that are for local needs. And as a result of that, it has led to a lot of unintended consequences, whether it is climate change, whether it is resource depletion, water depletion, soil erosion. All of these are what we call the unintended consequences of looking at energy scenario in a very limited perspective. We have to be wary of that as we go ahead. We should not repeat those same mistakes, and therefore what is really needed is sustainability, which comes from an integrated systems design and not really a reductionist point of view. We should also be aware that the solutions that we work out, the models on which we derive these solutions have issues. We have limited data, we have imperfect models, we don't really understand many times the fundamental science behind the sustainability issues related to technologies. And yet we have to achieve this kind of energy transition, and therefore some amount of humility is required, that we don't really fully understand what we are doing. That means that we should definitely adopt these solutions, start with the roadmap that has been defined, but have the will to do course corrections along the way. If we find that a certain solution is not fully and truly sustainable, we should be able to be agile in moving the energy mix that we are going to go for in the future, move from one to the other, because what we are going to start with are really imperfect solutions. We don't really fully understand the impact from various perspectives, not just decarbonization, it's about ecology, it's about biodiversity. There are 9 planetary boundaries, 6 of which are reasonably quantified, 3 of which are not even quantified. And unless we understand this in completeness, we will actually end up making more mistakes and again go back to those unintended consequences. So I just want to end with a cautionary note that we certainly want to embark on this energy transition to achieve energy security, energy equity, and decarbonization, but be a little humble and understand all aspects of sustainability as we start adopting these new solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make 2 overarching statements and then 3 very specific suggestions that were talked about, that were requested. The first one is on with especially what's going on in the world, and like Dr. Lele also mentioned, we all first have to believe in, if we agree, that climate change is real, which means it is our responsibility. And it is not a cost that we have to look at. We have to look at this as something that just must be done, which means the planet is getting warmer, energy intensity, bringing that curve down significantly, being committed to the 2070 goal that the Prime Minister has mentioned of achieving neutrality, being true to that. And that is something that we need to believe in and work towards. The second part is that we talked about that India's GDP needs to grow 8x, become a 35 trillion economy. I would say that without figuring out what our path to leadership in energy is, which means how do we as a country achieve this bridge between sustainability and availability of energy, we will not achieve that 35 trillion, which is the question is not that to get to 35 trillion, what energy sources are needed. I would go out and say that energy, and China last 5 years, the single biggest driver of GDP growth in China has been climate change technologies. Leadership in solar, leadership in batteries, leadership in hydrogen, in every means, and that is driving GDP. The Nobel Prize winners of the year, both Aghion and Hewitt, talk about creative destruction. No country in the world has gone to grow the way India wants to get to Viksit Bharat without figuring out areas in which it will lead the world. Yeah, and energy offers us that chance. This transition in energy offers us that chance to lead. Okay, so that is the overarching statement. Not looking at this energy transition as a cost, but looking at it as a massive opportunity. Now my three statements. First, you can see even in this small group that we have, and if you add 5, 15, 20 leaders, you will get a wide area and wide range of opinions. We won't agree on what is the path for the future. Yeah, is it nuclear? Is it hydro? Is it biomass? Is it whatever the case? And we have differing opinions. We as a country need a framework that says this is going to be our energy mix for the future. Work towards that in a deeply integrated manner. And that, we have to be clear, that framework won't be just one technology, but it has to come out and say, so much of it will be coal-driven. That coal will have intensity of so much. To achieve that intensity, you need so much of syngas, so much of gasification, so much of carbon technologies, whatever that framework is, and then get the entire framework of industry, academia, and policy to work in that direction. First point. Second point, laying out the rules of the game very well for everyone. Setting benchmarks industry by industry on what is expected, creating a carbon market that people can bank on, bringing financial products and tools that are needed to make those spaces happen, extremely important. And third, especially in this valley of death where where good ideas in India go to die. Yeah, where you have numerous technologies being developed at NCL, at IITs, at variety of different places that get to TRL 5, 6, but never get to TRL 10. Getting government funding to come in a much bigger way in that valley of death. Taking ideas from development and a small project to scale. Yeah, and after scale, I think industry is capable of taking that forward. For whatever reason, we as an industry haven't done a good job of scaling up. So getting funding to go particularly in that area for demonstration projects that are at scale, that will help tremendously. So with that, I'll pass it back to you.
So currently the energy mix is 20 to 80. 20% is the electricity, 80% is the energy in other form. Shifting this to 20-80 to 50-50, there would be certain infrastructural challenges. So Mr. Ajay, can you just discuss on how do we then green the grid, make RE as 24/7, and hence energy storage system from kilowatt hours to gigawatt hours? What will be our fuel carrier in the system? And also if you can throw some light on what should be the energy mix by say 2047.
Thank you.
What CA has done is, my previous organization, of course, now in APTEL, They had done some preliminary studies based on what will be the scenario in 2047. And obviously, when we do study of this kind, there are various assumptions that go into it, and these ground realities keep on changing over a period of time. So maybe I'm giving some broad numbers, but of course, these numbers should be taken as an indicative only for the purpose of capacity mix and energy mix. So what is estimated is that by 2047, our requirement will be of the order of say 2000 or 2100 gigawatt, and that kind of requirement will be there. And out of it, about 1600 will come from renewable sources, maybe 1200 solar, maybe 400 wind. That is what is expectation. And then coal will continue to be around 250. 100 will come from nuclear, and then 100, maybe 100, about 100 from hydro and biomass together. These are the preliminary numbers as of today. But as I said, that the situation will keep on changing. If some disruptive technology emerges, then who knows, we may end up having something else. Or maybe if we get cleaner coal options, then perhaps coal will be much more than that, because that is our strength. So that, having said that, to support this kind of renewable mix, where the variability is an issue, we will be needing about 500 gigawatt of storage, with about, on an average, 5.5 hours storage. So that means about 2700 gigawatt hour, that kind of storage we will be needing at that point of time. But not only this, what we need to focus more is on the grid. We have to focus on our transmission grid, which of course we are focusing, more or less attention is still there. But what is missing is attention towards the distribution network. Because if we want distributed generation, if we want e-mobility, where a lot of charging will take place at the households, and if we want peer-to-peer trading, of all this is our goal, then distribution network will have to be strengthened, and given the condition, financial condition of DISCOMs that is present, that will be, I think, the biggest challenge that we will face. So these are my remarks about this, what could be the possible energy mix as far as 2047 is concerned. Again, subject to rider, that things will change, and maybe we will have to revisit this study every maybe couple of years to see where we are and where we want to go now. Thank you.
I think let's try this.
Okay, so to achieve the net zero target, we have to decarbonize the high energy intensive sectors. That is the need of the hour today. So how do we address these punitive measures like CBAM or Green Corridor, other global pressure, which will suppress our export? What financial model will be needed to counter these? So I will request Mr. Singh and Mr. Ashish Bhandari to discuss this issue.
Okay. Again, I think the CBAM, or in our case, this is carbon credit trading system. I think this should be then looked at by most of us as an opportunity rather than a threat. I think any challenge really brings some kind of opportunities when we go up. We have already, as a country, we have adopted that we will be kind of greening the grid. So first was that to give the access to each and every one, which we have achieved, and now this is greening of the grid which is going on, and today then it was very clear, it was brought out that we have almost now 50% from the 50% capacity is from the non-fossil sources. So these are the steps which are going to take care, and what Mr. Ajay Talgaonkar just explained, that the grid is one of the kind of the major requirement. Incidentally, our most of the renewable is coming in the one part of the country, whereas the fossil fuel is coming in the other part of the country. So how we can make a good balance out of it, and how much the green corridor or the otherwise, I think the transmission line does not differentiate which kind of electron is flowing in that. The main issue is that how we can make the resilient grid which will be able to transmit power from one corner of the country to the other corner of the country. We all should take pride that we are the largest synchronous grid in the world. And today we are able to really transmit around 120 gigawatt from any part of the country to the other part of the country. So this is a great thing, and it will go on. But going forward, I think to go on in investing and increasing the share of the renewables, there is going to be more requirement for the storage solution, as it was coming out that whether it's a pump storage, whether it is going to be battery or otherwise. I think the hydrogen, what we are talking about, that is going to another kind of great sense. But I think this kind of conference, what we are talking about, the technologies, what is going to bring the solutions. I think we should try to really motivate our young scientists, young engineers to kind of work on that. And if I can take the opportunity, we are the company which we try to help China kind of put the demonstration plant, I think, which was mentioned by Ashish Bhandari ji in that. And if I can share then a couple of them with you, that we have in Banaras, we have from the MSW to green coal. I would invite any of you to visit, and this coal can be utilized for any purpose of the energy, whether it is going to be some more useful products or the dynamite by converting into the electricity. Similarly, I think it was again mentioned about the circularity, but we have been able to install our demonstration plant for CO2 captured from the stack, and with the green hydrogen to convert into the methanol. I think companies like Thermex is already working on those things. You would have seen some news item that we are running some of the 5 buses in Leh Ladakh on the green hydrogen. And I think the economics really works out quite well there, because when we are carrying the hydrocarbon, which is not only that transportation, but importing, then refining, then taking it all the way to that. And those kind of the solutions which we are doing. So this is another one. But let me share with you then quickly then 1 or 2 more things. The water is going to be, I think it was also mentioned, water is a very critical element. And we have now in our coal-based plants 2 of the coal mega plants, which are almost, one is 2400 megawatt, 800 into 3, and the another one is 3 into 660. Those are using the air-cooled condenser, which is bringing down the water consumption by almost 3/4. So it's only 1/4 of the water. So even when we are also kind of exploring, when we are going for the nuclear, whether we can really reduce the water requirement, and it can be making those things. I think my request will be to all the youngsters here is to come out and challenge what are the established practices of doing the things. The another one is, I think Jana was mentioned, we have recently gone for commissioning our 3 megawatt our vanadium flow battery. And I think if we can produce at scale, this is going to bring down the cost of the storage, which will be able to help to add more and more renewable and reduce the requirement for the grid, because the same grid will be able to be utilized for more number of hours. So this will be, but one point which I just came across is very interesting. That is, somebody came to me about the financial investor, and he said that there is one company which is working on how to split the methane into pure carbon and hydrogen. So we are only now knowing that hydrogen can be produced from splitting the water, which is hydrogen and oxygen. So if we can achieve something technology which will be able to split the methane into pure carbon and hydrogen, I think this is going to be really, I think, the technological breakthrough. On the other side, on the storage, what we are working is something which is the kind of the carbon dioxide battery. So we are storing the energy into CO2 and running I think then everybody will be knowing that the turbine for the CO2 requires a very small space, and it is the inertia which provides in the grid. So these type of the things, when I was in the previous kind of talk which I was saying, that we will be more than happy if there is going to be a good sustainable idea, we will be able to incubate that which can be utilized for our Viksit Bharat 24/7. Thank you.
Mr. Singh, yes. What do you see the role? Yeah. What do you see the role of small reactors for decarbonizing the energy-intensive industry?
I think I would request you to reflect on that, because I am not really in the, but let me, I think, just add something. I had a lot of discussion with the different people. I think what we are doing is a right path, that our 200 or 220 this megawatt, we are calling it a Bharat small reactor. If we can really, I think, make it a more and more number of units and produce this, and this can also be utilized by the industry as the captive, mainly for their heat utilization rather than the power utilization. Because we all know that in our Rankine cycle, almost around 60% of the energy is wasted and only 40% is utilized, but when you are utilizing the heat, the efficient utilization will be much higher. So I think we should really look at all kind of solutions rather than one or two, and I think it was well mentioned by someone that everybody will be looking at that my suggestion is the best suggestion. I think collectively we have to win, not individually we have to win. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ashish.
Look, I completely agree with Gurdeep Singh ji that we have to look at CBAM as an opportunity and not as a cost. Yeah, in simple terms, especially in this tariff world, CBAM is a tariff, and it roughly translates to somewhere between $30 and $60 per ton of CO2 for whatever that you produce. Depending on your CO2 footprint, you can add this as a relative cost. Your competition is with other countries who are also looking to export to EU. Yep. So you don't have to be the cheapest, you have to be relatively the cheapest. And that is an opportunity. Yeah, because we have a very well-developed energy market relative to many other countries in Southeast Asia or Africa or wherever else we would be competing with. So what do we need to do to succeed? First, we have to evolve our own carbon market so that the whole carbon management, measurement, accruals, understanding baselines becomes a very formal mechanism in India. And then at the back end, if we could baseline our mechanisms with EU's mechanisms as part of some of the free trade agreements, etc., that is working on, that will be a huge step forward. And we would come in as not somebody who's looking to fight the system, saying, how do I make this happen faster and better? Yeah, I think that would go a long, long, long way. And here, our interests align. If we could create an energy market, create a carbon market, create incentives for our various industries to deploy that market, share energy credits, cut down our carbon footprint, and for every industry that's looking to export to EU, their answer should be, can I implement an energy program that is cheaper than $60 per ton of CO2? Plain and simple. And we would find there are numerous programs that we can deploy and employ, and we should look to do those in a structured manner and do them fast, industry by industry. I think we would see at the end of this, this is a tremendous opportunity for a country like India, not a cost at all.
Thank you. Dr. Lele, considering the dual trajectory of battery-based electric vehicle and hydrogen-based fuel cell, what technological developments, charging, refueling, infrastructure build-up, and resource security strategies are crucial to drive the mass adoption of e-mobility across all the segment in India by 2047?
So there are three parts to this question as I heard it. First is what kind of technology interventions we need to do in this space of batteries and fuel cells.
And resource security strategies.
So I think the list is very long, because if you look at the entire value chain, let's say for hydrogen from production to utilization, we need to focus on technology development in each bucket of that hydrogen value chain. starting with batteries, because that's a little simpler and more advanced already. I think for India, we need to look at clearly non-lithium, safe batteries and fast charging batteries. So already cell chemistries that are that sort of satisfy these things are being looked at in India. Sodium ion batteries or lithium iron phosphate batteries are already looked at because they sort of satisfy these conditions. Next to that, I think I fully agree with Gurdeep Singh ji that flow batteries is something that we have not looked at very seriously. And I think it could be really a game changer if we focus on, the various types of flow batteries. Vanadium is very happy to hear the experiments being done at NTPC. We at NCL are developing a completely new kind of organic flow batteries. So I think these kinds of tech developments in the battery space must to happen. In the fuel cells, in the hydrogen area, as I said, from production to utilization, there is a great need for technology development in all these three parts of the value chain. But the point that I want to make is that we are right now looking at a very low-hanging fruit. We are buying stacks, whether it is electrolyzer or fuel cells, and then putting together the balance of systems, the balance of plants, including power electronics and all that. That's fine, and we have great capabilities for that in India. But soon, I think very soon, we need to get into what is really the core technology, because we pay a lot for that core technology. The IP really resides there, and all those challenges really reside there. That's a lot of value that we are exporting today. We need to retain that value in India, and that's why focus on the core technologies is very critical. And what I mean by that is, whether it is a battery or a fuel cell, we have to look at the cell chemistries, the advanced materials that go in it, the subcomponents, whether it is electrodes or membranes, the catalysts, how do you put all of them together into stacks, the balance of stacks. All of those are really core components of this technology, and we should never lose sight of that. That is the first point I want to make. In terms of charging and refueling infrastructure, I think the battery charging systems are developing very nicely. We have already seen a very fast increase in the battery charging across the country. I was recently traveling in rural areas in North Karnataka, just stopped at a fueling station, I saw a battery charger there. So I think that infrastructure is growing very well. We need to do the same for hydrogen refueling infrastructure as well. Very happy to hear that the first fully indigenous hydrogen refueling station has just been set up in the south of India. This is truly fully indigenous at a fraction of a cost of a hydrogen refueling station outside India. These are the kinds of technology developments that we ought to do and accelerate. The charging infrastructure is a massive capex investment, but if we indigenize it, innovate in India and make in India, we can certainly achieve this at a much lower cost. And so for the hydrogen case, I believe that one interesting input that I would like to give here is we keep hearing of this national logistic policies. The almost 70+% of freight transport in India happens on roads. And if we can bring in this national logistic policy that combines an AI framework with a hub and spoke model where goods move from one warehouse to another, that simplifies the charging and the refueling problem very significantly, because you need fewer refueling stations, therefore much lower capex. You need trucks that will transport over long distances and carry heavy payloads. That's exactly what hydrogen systems would require. So we need to couple these two frameworks, the National Logistics Policy and the National Hydrogen Mission. If we can look at it in an integrated way, these kinds of things could be really game changers. Lastly, I think you asked about resource security. I think in the earlier discussions, Ria talked about circularity. We also, others on the panel mentioned about circularity, and I think the 3 R's that we normally use in the plastics recycling system, we need to bring them in the materials recycling system as well. Reuse, recover and recycle, and again the core technology is important there. not just recovering black mass, but recovering the base metals from it and recycling them. That is the kind of technology we need to focus on, because today a lot of black mass goes abroad and the metals are sort of extracted and recycled and brought back. We have a lot of lithium circulating around in this country. In just terms of black mass, we need the technologies to extract the lithium from it. I think blockchain will bring in very exciting orthogonal dimension here, because we can track and we can account for all the critical minerals that are floating around in the energy ecosystem. Some Indian mines are getting explored now, and again we need to develop a lot of technologies there for exploring the mines, extracting the minerals, beneficiating it, purifying it to the level that is required for energy systems. So, the list can just go on. There's a huge amount of technology development challenges that we have and needs that we have. And I do hope that more and more R&D budgets are sanctioned, and a lot more budgets on scale up from TRL4 to TRL7, as Mr. Bhandari said. The valley of death needs to be crossed. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. So we have not touched biomass. I will request Mr. Amit to discuss about what are the most efficient, standardized and integrated pathways for utilizing biomass beyond simple co-firing to produce biofuel at a national level.
I think I will have my panelist Ashish talk about biomass. He's quite passionate. But I think India does have both an opportunity and challenge to focus on biomass. There's certain ways that can be done with the minimum energy impact. But truly, as I said, the calculation should show that is there real value that's derived out of it with minimal carbon impact on that. And of course, various pathways needs to be looked at. From a thermodynamics and chemistry perspective, we've studied methanol, ethanol, SAF. Obviously, after the carbon capture, you need, hydrogen to have these things done. Of course, SAF is another area that the airline industry is looking into, but also into areas where one could use waste to energy. Sweden has a great model. I mean, India problem on this is also in terms of bio-waste and other waste and biomass. So there are some obvious answers to this. We saw a circularity theme today in the morning where how do you convert biomass into useful areas. So I think the traditional ones is of course chemistry with methanol, ethanol, SAF, but also waste to energy mechanisms. The question here is there a way so that there is minimal CO2 and this conversion doesn't result? I think one of the most important thing we feel is about the levelized cost of energy and what is the cost of doing this action. While sustainability must be kept in mind, there is a cost and efficiency factor that we should definitely look at that. For example, what is the LCOE for thermal or nuclear versus solar versus long-term costs? And having said that, my last point I would like to say, including this applies to biomass and the calculations that we worry about, is the way things are reshaping. Just 5 years back when we did the energy mix analysis, 20% was electricity, 40% was transportation, and 40% was industry. And this is predicted to change to about 50-50 in about 25 years, and then lean towards a 60-40 where electricity will dominate. Now, this analysis 5 years back did not consider the amount of energy required to extract silica out of sand for the semiconductors and data centers. In 5 years, this study is very different. The amount of energy required to convert sand to silica is 300 gigawatt for a million ton, against 6 gigawatt for steel or 12 for aluminum. And so if our desire to go up the value chain will reside a lot on semiconductors and data centers, the entire energy mix will change. And that's where the low-cost physics, low-energy physics and chemistry we need to look at. For example, can we replicate photosynthesis? the most efficient process that generates oxygen and hydrogen with the highest efficiency? Can we replicate that from a low energy physics to extract and create oxygen and hydrogen, mimicking photosynthesis? We've got all these mega approaches of cracking molecules, which are highly energy intensive, that you find in refineries. Are there ways to crack molecules with low energy physics? I think those equations are also important then to have a linear transition from current calculations to futuristic calculations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have already exceeded the time limit, so just I will summarize the discussion. We heard our eminent speakers on this. So what we can find out is there are 9 levers that will feed into our energy roadmap by 2047. So one is the faster penetration of renewables, energy storage technologies. We have to work on the circular economy. Biomass could be another area. Hydrogen and hydrogen-based energy systems, faster penetration of e-mobility on batteries and hydrogen, modern agriculture greening in the field, CCUS and natural climate solutions, and finally the nuclear energy, which is going to play a major role to decarbonize the whole industry. And I thank all panelists, the session chair and the organizer for having given us the opportunity. And with this, I close the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And thank you to all our panelists for that stimulating discussion. The synergy of ideas explored today provides a clear direction for action. I now request our thematic chair to felicitate our panelists with a token of our deepest request and gratitude. B.C. Pathak, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for covering everything. People must be hungry. Thank you.
Gurdeep Singh, sir. Shri Ajay Telugankar, sir. Shri Amit Sharma, sir. Dr. Ashish Lele. Shri Ashish Bhandari. Now may I request our session chair to have a group photograph with our panelists, sir. वो बुलाएंगे नहीं बुलाया था सबने बुलाया बुला लीजिए थैंक यू सर थैंक यू सर let's work something on the thank you sir may I request Thematic Committee Chairman and esteemed panelists to kindly take their respective seats in the audience. Dear audience, now I have a special announcement. There will be a signing of technology transfer agreement between ARCI and Infi Hydro Solutions LLP. To provide you the detail, I would like to invite Dr. Sanjay Bharadwaj, Head Technology Transfer ARCI, to give the details about that.
Thank you, Dr. Saurav. Good afternoon. Respected Professor Abhay Karandikar ji, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty ji, Secretary, Department of Atomic Energy, Dr. Vijay ji, Director ARCI, and other esteemed dignitaries. ARCI is pleased to announce the transfer of technology for electrochemical methanol reformer for hydrogen production to INFI Hydro Solutions LLP, Ahmedabad. ARCI is an autonomous research lab under Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Operational since 1996, ARCI has been developing, demonstrating and transferring unique, novel and techno-commercially viable technologies in the area of advanced materials and processes. So far, ARCI has transferred its technologies to 48 companies in the areas such as battery, solar energy materials, nanomaterials, engineered coatings, ceramics and fuel cells, and provided more than 250 solutions to strategic sectors, including defense, space, atomic energy, and industry such as power plants, textiles, automotive, oil and gas. INFI Hydro Solutions is a young startup dedicated to offering complete hydrogen solutions through technical collaborations with leading manufacturers across multiple countries. This technology has been developed at ARCI, which marks a significant step towards India's hydrogen economy, aligning well with the National Green Hydrogen Mission. Now I request a video to be played on the technology, please.
The International Advanced Research Center for Powder Metallurgy and New Materials, ARCI, an autonomous R&D center under the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, is contributing to the National Green Hydrogen Mission and India's vision of energy self-reliance. Hydrogen is an emerging energy carrier as it contains no carbon and offers highest energy content per unit weight. Government of India recognized the true potential of hydrogen economy and launched National Hydrogen Mission.
India has already launched the National Green Hydrogen Mission in 2023. We want to make India a global hub for the production, utilization and export of green hydrogen. The National Green Hydrogen Mission is giving an impetus to innovation, infrastructure, industry and investment.
Hydrogen produced by different approaches such as electrolysis, biological process and reforming. Center for Fuel Cell Technology at ARCI extensively working on reformer technology and developed a unique proton exchange membrane-based electrochemical methanol reformer for hydrogen production. Produces pure hydrogen at near ambient conditions, thereby reducing electrical energy consumption to 1/3. The development began at laboratory scale with emphasis on design and development of individual cell components. Systematic scale-up carried out and several prototypes with a capacity of up to 5 kilograms of hydrogen production per day were built and validated. Many companies approaching ARCI for commercialization of PEM-based electrochemical methanol reformer technology.
Kindly stop the video, please.
Yes, sir. Call. Yes. Call everyone. No? Come down. You can announce, right? Who are the people there, right?
May I now invite on stage Secretary DA Dr. A.K. Mohanty, Secretary DST Professor Abhay Karandikar on stage, please. Dr. R. Vijay, Director ARCI, Dr. R. Subhasri, Associate Director ARCI, Dr. Sanjay Bharadwaj, Mr. Chirag Kotwani, Dr. Ramya and Dr. Balaji. Thank you.
कहाँ जाएगा जो यहाँ पे है सब में रहेगा। डांस करते रहिए।
Thank you, sir. With this, our session ends. Before proceeding for lunch, may I request thematic committee member, speakers, chairman to have a final photograph of the session, please. May I request all the dignitaries on the dais, please. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. And with this, we conclude the session. Thank you. I wanted to